Hey Joe, how you doing, man?
What's going on today?
Not much, just living the dream.
I love it. We interviewed before.
I don't believe we have.
I don't think I for some reason there was some I was double checking before we got on and I thought that we had, but I think I've just seen your material a lot and just assumed that maybe at some point we had hooked up and interviewed. So,
Oh,
um,
I think this is our first time. You're based out of Kansas City, right?
yes.
Yeah, nice, man. I was being nosy. I was looking at some of your recent playlists. Some really tasty stuff, man. And it's like kind of like, man, I really dig that. And then it was like a list of like, I really dig that album. I need to check out that album.
Oh, cool.
I think on a recent one you had Ben Markley's new album that I haven't checked out yet, and it was like it's like I need to check out that album. So
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
nicely curated stuff, man. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, and what I try to do, jazz radio tends to get pigeonholed into the past. And what I
Hmm.
want to do is I want to show that bridge between the past and the present and kind of draw those lines in because it's just it's and that's the thing when I talk to people about jazz, they're like, "What's going on today?" Like there's albums all over the place.
Hmm.
There's cats that are making music. It's flourishing. It's great, you know. And then I tell them, check out my show. I'm showing you what's going on and what's gone on and how we've evolved. So anyway, it's I appreciate it. It's
No, that bridge is very evident in how you're programming. It's beautiful to see, man.
cool. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, I've dug Tenor Madness. I've had it on the show already. I believe I've had it. It may have been about a month ago.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed the album, so I'm digging it. I'm looking forward to getting into your past and how you made this album. So, where are you coming out of?
So I've been in Nashville since 2007. I
Okay.
was originally from Iowa, so I'm a Midwest kid. So I did born and raised in Iowa, did a music ed degree, found my way to Nashville just kind of as a fluke. Um, I actually got placed here for my student teaching, and then I started gigging and started being on the scene, and just kind of one thing led to the other, and the city kind of sucked me in. Uh,
Yeah.
and been just making music with really cool people ever since, and feel incredibly blessed to have some of the coolest collaborators on the jazz scene, and write music for people. Like I've just been kind of on an arranging spree lately. Wrote four new things for Jeff Coffin, four new things for Joel Fromm, and I'm in the midst of a couple charts for the great trombonist Michael Deese as well. So
Oh, very
not just
cool.
all saxophone all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's cool. Yeah, I've Jeff's great. Jeff's been on the show a few times, and I love his evolution as a musician. Obviously, with Dave Matthews, that's a steady gig. It's good exposure, but what he's doing aside from that's wonderful. And Michael Deese, I had him on really long ago in the beginnings of the show, and the trombone is one of those instruments to me that's just there's no hard stop. There's something about that instrument where you can just kind of manipulate the notes and get to different places, and I just love it. And he's so good at it, and it's been so good to see him. He's really vaulted and become kind of the leader of the jazz march.
Yeah, man. He's like one of the cats. I think he was like the trombonist of the year last year in Downbeat or something like
Yeah,
that. He's just, I mean, and Michael and Jeff both are just really incredible leaders in jazz education as well. So it's
yeah,
cool to see cats who play at that level also care about education.
yeah. Well, let's peel back the layers here. Let's begin with the album Tenor Madness. Talk to me a little bit about this album, how you put it together. What was the vision?
So really, what I wanted to do is kind of really celebrate the saxophone, but also specifically our really wonderful saxophone community we have here in Nashville, right? So you mentioned Jeff, like he's kind of a really big centerpiece to our saxophone community, but we also have a small army of really incredible saxophonists here in town. Um, Joel Fromm was living here at the time, which is great. Don Alico, who has been um, kind of the main, even though he's from the East Coast, he's been here for decades. And it's kind of like we are this community of saxophone transplants that have kind of come together, and we have this really supportive, cool community of people. And I think we're also unique in the sense that no one sounds the same, right? No one's a carbon copy of somebody else. Everyone has kind of like their own unique musical voice on the instrument. Um, Even like thinking from an educational lineage, like I'm a former student of Don Alico's, but I don't sound like Don at all. Um, partially to my detriment, because Don sounds great. But some former students of mine are actually also on this album. Jovan Coelho, who was playing alto and is featured on Crimea River, has his own sound. Kevin Shinsky, who doesn't take a solo but plays in the section, has his own thing going on. But it's kind of like a celebration of kind of our musical community, but specifically focusing on the saxophone. And especially when you have killer tenor players like that, uh, somebody asked me in a previous interview, is there going to be a Tenor Madness Volume 2? I was like, no, there's not going to be a Tenor Madness Volume 2. And within the time frame after that interview, I had written like 8 new charts, as I mentioned, for like Joel and Jeff. Is like, well, there's another album
Yeah.
in itself, right? But no, it's really cool. It's just really a celebration of our musical community, and the band as a whole is just stacked. Like the brass players are great, the rhythm section's great. Pat Coyle, who's playing piano, was in Woody Herman's band. Like it's the kind of also that historic lineage that you mentioned is like here is Pat Coyle who played in Woody Herman's band, and here he is in this modern big band. Still, he sounds incredible, playing at the top of his game. Um, and then yeah, the studio kind of the combination of our jazz and studio community, which overlaps but are not necessarily always the same,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So we have some really incredible studio players in there, combined with some great jazz players, um, making music together.
So take me back to the beginnings of this journey. You mentioned Iowa. How did music, the horn, and specifically jazz become your destiny?
Man, so my biggest goal in life was to be a high school band director. Like that's if you rewind to like 17-year-old, 18-year-old Ryan, I really just wanted to be a high school band director. I wanted to be that band director in like a small town, Midwestern city. I'd be the band director, I'd be the church choir director, I'd be the offensive line football coach for the high school, like the whole like that was kind of my vision for life. And it just took me in a way different direction. And I have to give some credit to the musical training I received in my undergrad because everyone told me it's like, okay, if you want to be a good band director, you got to learn how to arrange, right? You got to learn how to write charts and stuff like that. You want to be a good band director, you have to learn all your woodwind doubles, right? So, unbeknownst to me, all those things that I was pursuing in a path to be a good band director actually prepared me really well to be a professional musician, right? Um, so when I landed in Nashville, I just already had all the tools to like be on the scene, playing a bunch of different styles of music in the music industry, which is still true today. I do a ton of studio sessions, play with people from all different genres. But yeah, that was the initial vision. And I started really, and my writing still today, uh, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, especially on this album is geared towards educational ensembles, whether that's for high school students or college students. Really, I'm an educator at heart, and I really, it comes down to the sharing of the music with other people. So I try to write music that's accessible to like high school bands, like a really good high school band, but also a college band could play it. I'm about to go down to LSU for a week, and they're going to do a concert of my music with both their big bands. And then, but in the hands of a professional ensemble like this, they absolutely crush it. Like they rip it apart and, really kind of own the music. So that's kind of my musical pathway and kind of how I ended up here.
So what was the first live jazz show you saw that blew you away that made you think, I want to be up there one day, I want to do this?
Oh man. Um, there's a cat named Ray Blue, saxophone player, tenor player. He
Yeah.
came through town a lot, and I mean, he was a really incredible mentor, really wonderful interpreter of melody, um, really rooted in kind of like blues and like it just he was the first person to really kind of I guess see me as a musician. Like he was like he sounded great, he was a great player, but he was the first person to be like, yes, you can play, like you can do this. And that was even in high school. Um, and really just and super encouraging, super supportive, and just the way that he kind of had his own unique musical style and just kind of almost unapologetic himself. Like, this is who I am as a saxophonist, this is who I am as a person, is not something I had previously been exposed to at that point, like as a young high school student. So that would have been like my freshman or sophomore year in high school. Um, but man, like so many performances have just been so inspiring to me. I mean, it's really too many to count or too many to list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the one thing you had mentioned, Ray, and he's wonderful, and he's obviously a very esteemed veteran in the jazz world.
Mhm.
What have you ultimately in your career up to this point learned from the legends and luminaries and people like even Jeff Coffin and Michael Deese? What have you learned from them that you impart on younger players now that you've been around for a while? What do you try to give them that you've learned from these people?
Um, I think it comes down to serving the music.
Yeah,
Like music ends up being a service industry, if you will. And there's a hierarchy of service within that music industry. Um, in the first service you can do is to serve the music. And this is kind of what I impart on my students, especially I work with a lot of mostly college students, but I clinic and work with a ton of high school students as well. Is you gotta serve whatever the music that you're playing is at the time, right? Um, so, and this comes down when I see, especially developing soloists, this is where kind of the rub hits. Is like, okay, here's the piece, and then your solo is just going in a completely different direction that has nothing to do with the music. So that's usually when I tend to have to like rein the students back. Is like our number one goal is to serve the music, and your no second goal is to serve the musicians around you. And if you have an audience, you serve that audience and engage with them. And the last person who gets served is yourself. And if you serve all those other aspects, if you serve the music, if you serve the musicians around you, you in turn get served,
yeah.
right? So I think that's a really important thing. And and just being open to stuff, open to collaborate. All those cats that you mentioned are just super open to creative collaborations, and you never know where musically things might take you, right? So I think those are two really important aspects.
So, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you to evolve in this world of music that you're in?
Man, I never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
Especially I do a decent amount of studio work here in town, and you literally never know. We never most of the time we don't know what we're going to play before we get to the studio. It's a ton of sight reading, and honestly, it ends up being a lot of improvisation. So I was recently, and it's on Spotify now. Me and a few other really nice local pros are on the new World of Warcraft soundtrack. And the new World of Warcraft soundtrack is totally jazz inspired. And it's weird listening back to it where, here comes back that historical link. There's this track that I'm featured on baritone saxophone on a video game where I'm really channeling like Harry Carney. How would Harry Carney play this melody?
yeah.
And its own like kind of like modern interpretation of that, but it's for a video game. So in that sense, it's like we're kind of putting jazz, everywhere, and kind of celebrating that historical link as well. So yeah, I had no idea going to the studio that day what we were doing. Turns out there's a Barry sax feature, and it's kind of jazz inspired, and it's just it comes down to like the spirit of discovery,
Yeah.
right? You never know what you're going to discover that day. And I see that as a player, I see that as a writer, in my own creative process. It's like sometimes my students think I'm crazy where I'll sit with like an ending of a big band chart for like days. It's like it's just sitting on my desktop and playing with it, making like trying a bunch of different stuff. And finally, you discover what that music actually needs, and then discovering music together with my students as well. So I think it all comes down to the spirit of discovery.
So, let me ask you this. If you could see a dream show, you can get into a time machine, go
Mhm.
back in time and see one dream jazz show. Where are you going?
I'm going to the Village Vanguard, 1979, while Brookmeyer is the musical director. In the book is like that album Brookmeyer composer arranger with like his arrangement of Skylark, his piece Ding Dong Ding, that whole record, like if I could be there live for the recording of that record, like I'm there, man. That's the stuff. You
You
know,
had that answer queued up.
oh man, like there are a ton of things, but man, I'm pretty sure my students are sick of me playing that record for them. It's like, do you hear this? Like
Yeah.
the way he balances melodicism with dissonance and just like his cluster voicings during that period of time. Um, and kind of the spirit of that band. I totally like, I dig the vibe of that band from start to finish. It's like all the live recordings. Honestly, I think that's what got me through the pandemic was listening to like really great live recordings because you
Yeah.
could kind of still get the sense that you were in
Uh-huh.
the room with people. Um, but man, it's that record, you know, yeah, that would probably be it. Like when Bob was musical director of Mel Lewis and the Jazz Orchestra.
Yeah, Bob was from Kansas City.
Absolutely.
So he had some roots here. So why do you love this music we call jazz?
Um, because it's just this really inclusive big umbrella if you want to view it that way because so many people view jazz in a variety of ways, right? Like we can be like, all right, well, jazz is pre 1960, here's this like canon of jazz music, right? Um, to me, like jazz is this really open and inclusive umbrella of music and musical influences that can evolve, right? And I love the history of music. I would consider myself a traditionalist in the sense of like the big band tradition. Like I really want to pull from cats who like think of arrangers like Sammy Nestico and think of people like Fletcher Henderson and Thad and Brookmeyer. And it's like I want to pull from all those influences and I want to be a part of that and continue that tradition. But also it's like what other people are doing creatively, it's cool. It's part of the music, right? And even people who might be considered not jazz musicians, but are pulling on jazz influences, I think it's just a beautiful thing. I think of somebody like Jacob Collier as a great example. Would most people consider Jacob Collier a jazz musician? Probably not, but is a lot of what he's doing influenced by jazz music and jazz musicians? There's a lot there. So I think if we kind of take a step back and look at jazz as an overarching musical community, it can be this big welcoming umbrella of like so many different styles of music. And I think that's really cool. So like I think we have that here in town in Nashville, even though, you know, sometimes we get pegged as, country music city. We have all types of music here, and we have a couple really thriving jazz clubs that, you're going to hear some Latin jazz, you're going to hear some original music, you're going to hear standards, you're going to hear people do really cool stuff with like odd instrumentations. And that's all jazz, and that's all cool, which I think is really, really a beautiful thing.
So at the end of the day, Ryan, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, everybody that you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I want to be the person who brings people together. I mean, that's part of being a big band leader is like, all right, let's all come together and make music. Because there are easier ways to make music than have a big band, right? There are way easier ways to make music. Um, a few of the cats around here call me the cat herder because it's just like herding all the cats. But really, it's bringing people together for creative collaborations, whether that's my big band stuff that I do on my own, or collaborating with people in the studio, or even like smaller collaborations. Um, I just want to try a bunch of different stuff. We're about to record a piece with our flute professor here, Molly Barth, who's incredible. Um, and she came to me and was like, "Hey, I have this Venezuelan piece that's a solo flute thing." And I was like, "That's great. That's really cool." I had one of my students who's taking arranging with me do a big band arrangement of it, and we're going to go record it here in a couple weeks. And it's something completely unique. It's this traditional Venezuelan piece that we're going to do with big band with her as a flute soloist. Never done anything like it, but those are the type of collaborations I want to bring together, right? Um, and have it have some like depth and meaning to it instead of being I guess transactional, if you will. So really I want to be the person who brings people together for fun musical opportunities.
So, it talk to me a little bit about live shows, best way to pick up the album, any of the good business.
Great. So we play live here in Nashville a decent amount. So our home away from home is the Nashville Jazz Workshop, which is a really great listening room here in town. Um, and then we also play at a local event space called Cheekwood, which is kind of more of our live outdoor gigs. Last year we opened up for Dirty Dozen Brass Band. That's part of their Jazz Under the Stars series. To get the album, if you want to buy a physical copy, my website, ryanmiddagh.com. That's middagh.com. Or you can stream it wherever you stream music. It's on Apple Music, it's on Spotify, wherever else. I'm sure there's a bajillion places to stream now that I don't know about because I'm not young and hip. Uh, but those are the places to get the music. And if you want to play the music, if you're like a high school or collegiate band director, or you have your own like community big band, all those charts are available on my website as well.
Right on. Ryan, this has been wonderful. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah,
Joe
thank
Domino here, host of KC's Neon Jazz Radio. On International Jazz Day, April 30th, join us at the Music Hall in downtown Kansas City for the event of the year, 90 Years of Count Basie's Swing. At 7 p.m., the world-famous Count Basie Orchestra takes the stage. From 5 to 7 p.m., it's a VIP reception with jazz legends and honorees. Finally, from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m., join the after-party jam session at Lonnie's Reno Club inside the Ambassador Hotel. Tickets are moving fast. Get yours now at kccreativecity.com/count-basie. This event is part of International Jazz Day, supported by the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, with Kansas City proudly standing as America's only creative city of music. I'll see you there, Kansas City.